don't know, man. It sounds like a horrible way to be uninstalled. Just the concept of war itself. I'm not sure if it's unnecessary anymore, or if it's just something that we need to get out of our systems. Because I'm not sure if willingly sending your child to or well, I'm not going to say allow because that's not up to them, right? But seeing your husband or your wife deploy and being sent into gunfights and drone strikes and horrible ways to just experience a life that's not supposed to be experienced like that. We're only victims of that kind of patriotic intent, right? Because the idea of being patriotic is not bad. We have a need to feel identity through something, and I guess imaginary lines in the sand is the way to go. But I mean that's beside the point, right? Let's say that you love your country, but if you love your country, you work for it to be built better, not to support wars that only expand your power as a nation and create instability, because that's all wars do, and it's all because of a few people's need to sell guns and to create conflict and invade other countries who have better resources than they do. Instead of negotiating and cooperating, they choose to take over things, and it's fucking ridiculous that we call that power, that we call that success. It's the greatest country in the world. Yeah, sure. I mean, what have you done to cause all the chaos in the world, right? It's your invasive policies that made it possible for a lot of countries to be resentful towards you and to seek revenge and to seek some kind of retribution, and it's scary, man, that intent, or the intent of people wanting to get even richer than they already are just to be able to sell their guns, because they're not good for doing anything else, just sell things that are going to harm people and they are going to create policies or lobby for policies that will create instabilities enough to actually cause a profit gain that year, or to be able to give the CEO a pat in the back, saying good job, just because he was able to save you some money, so that your shareholders would be happy with you. And we keep on doing that to ourselves, and we keep on allowing that to be called success, and that's why people get obsessed with that kind of lifestyle, because it's something that is wasteful. I mean, they waste everybody else's time. Why not waste their own, right? There's no time for growth, no time for community, no time for cooperation. We need to have secrets and lies and cheating and exploitation, because that's what we do. That's what the biggest brain that has ever existed is able to do. Act no better than a monkey would in certain scenarios. And we claim to not be monkeys, but I mean, we can't seem to get rid of that part of our brains, right? To be aggressive and to be idiotically oblivious to the fact that you're causing your own destruction. You're creating policies, you're doing actions around the world that will inevitably cause a reaction, and you claim to be the best. And we're sending our children to die just because of that intent, of that greed, of that unchecked ego. And I mean, it's fine if you want to be patriotic. I don't believe in any of that anymore, because I see it being used to manipulate our thought and to justify wars and idiocy that only has to do with ego, and not really a public choosing to be better, or choosing a person who will actually work for the interest of the community, and not for their own self-interests and manipulation games that they play just to be able to gain more power and to have more control. But I mean, they're destroying their own experiences. Then they're not only doing that, they're destroying the experiences of their own children, because that's what they teach them to do. It has never been something that worked. It's the most fucking mediocre mentality that I have actually thought about and gotten to understand. You hoard wealth so that your children don't have an opportunity to be themselves, so that they don't have to do anything to discover what life is about, so that they don't have to hustle or experience pain, to make them less human with your hereditary intent, right? To be able to leave them with something instead of nothing. But who in their own has not required from family, but who in their own hasn't been able to move past the difficulties of life. And life is already hard enough without those fucking assholes hoarding everything and taking away time and resources from communities. Because that's all they do, that's all they care about is profit, and that's the real deal with the devil, if you want to call it, right? Because we try to figure out that the devil is this kind of entity that is opposed to a God they themselves have actually created in their minds as well, which was forced on most of them throughout childhood. Because if you don't believe in God, then you're a bad kid, and that's fucking ridiculous that we're teaching kids that that's true. If you want to believe in whatever you want to believe, go ahead, man. If it makes you a better person, but if you only use it to justify your actions, or to your shitty actions, or to justify wars, or to justify profit, and not really care about the actual intent of what religious ideas should be, which is to lead you on the way of leading a good life, one that you enjoy, instead of leading one that will enable you to bring chaos and unnecessary chaos, because the universe is already chaotic, right? But unnecessary chaos to communities, entire communities that end up suffering wildly and ferociously, because the economic ideas apparently are the reason for that. But no, it's ego, man. They have used socialism to do horrible things. They have used communism for the same thing, and they're using capitalism right now to do the exact thing, to benefit out of being unable to process your own mortality, and to develop a personality that will help your community and have you enjoy your life. You're incapable of that, because that's not what you do. You're about being a shark. You're about being a mediocre hoarder that only cares about himself, because that's the way the world is, and it's not. You make it that way with your corruption and your idiotic decisions taken to make things easier for you, not for everybody, but for you. And unnecessarily, because it could be very fucking easy for everybody to be living a good life. And if you want to play your greed games, then go ahead and do it, man. But don't do it out of the pain and suffering and time spent with you instead of their own families or their own selves. Just don't call yourself successful. Don't call yourself a good member of communities, because you're not. You're the leech that takes from the community, and when you actually take what you want from the community, you go ahead and spend it all over there where they already have everything. They don't need anything else. Yet you go ahead and buy their clothes and buy their expensive perfumes and their expensive cars, because I'm not sure what because, man. It's horrible to think that those kind of people are the ones that call themselves the most religious, the ones that use God and the fear of death for their own personal gain, through war and through convenience and through power games that benefit nobody. They want to feel like they have a 10-inch long dick, but they act like they don't have a fucking brain to know what to do with it. And it's very basic. You already have the answer in your fucking magic books. There it is. You should love yourself. You should love others. Treat people with respect. But you focus on the negative things, on the things that were supposed to be a cautionary tale or a way to tell you not to be a fucking asshole. You take them as examples or permissions to be able to act like an asshole as well. And that's why you're not a religious person, really. You're just a follower of a team. You're a follower of of an unchecked ego that wants more for themselves and don't care about anybody but themselves. And you see it all around. Mega churches that not even in natural disasters were able to get a little bit of honest humility and try to help people. They close their doors because we're gonna get things dirty, right? The dirty people are gonna come in and fuck my building up. So I'm not gonna open the door because they can withstand a hard night outside, right? Or the people who claim to be the chosen ones and have gone through horrible experiences in their ancestry and now are doing horrible things to other people who let them into their land and to share and they ended up kicking them out and killing them just because they think they're chosen because of a book that somebody wrote when rules needed to be established because bullies were the stronger ones and they were the ones who got everything. So how do we control them? We control them with a book, right? And fear and that's fine. It worked back then, but why do we need it anymore? If we're using it to just justify wars and to justify the imaginary enemies that we are all supposed to be. All of your books are saying the same thing. Love yourself, love others, do community, cooperate, because a super volcano or a solar flare or earthquake or whatever it is that you want, a cosmic event is going to happen, and we're not going to be ready for it because we're distracted over fighting for wars and unnecessary things that don't need to exist anymore because we do have the biggest brain that has ever existed. We're misusing it like fucking idiots, but we do have that capability of actually reaching those kind of achievements as a human species, to actually develop technologies, to be able to focus on that, on cooperating, on taking advantage of every single imagination, of every single ability that we have, instead of drowning them in poverty and inflation and exploitative hours, because that's what we're doing. We're limiting all of those possibilities so that we can actually have a better margin for profit next year. And we're that meme that's on the kid that's on the bike and he sticks a stick on the front tire and it goes flying off the bike. We're that meme. We're doing that whenever we seek profit instead of actual sustainability, whenever we seek war instead of cooperation, whenever we justify wars through religion or through any kind of means that is not ambition or desire to make your buddies richer, then that's the problem. That's why we are not able to understand what we are able to do, what our potential is as a species. We have the biggest brain, and instead of using it towards bettering our environment, ourselves, our technology, our understanding of what life is, we're using it to gain profit, to have more money that we invented, that we give value to. But that's the reason to be able to annihilate ourselves, just because we need to be more greedy than the other guy that also has a small dick. So why are you measuring them, man? They're both small. That's not going to be changing at all. If you're envious of other skins just because they are able to process the sun better or because they have bigger dicks, then that's on you, man. Work on that. Don't take it out on everybody else, or those people have done nothing to you. Yet you keep on thinking them as lesser when you are actually the lesser one, because you think idiocy is policy and it's a way to live. And you're wasting your time not being yourself because you're chasing the money. You're chasing the what you were told that success was, but it's only mediocrity because you're not behaving any differently than a mentally ill person, a hoarder of jars of pee or newspapers or magazines or even poo. You know better than them. And I'm pretty sure you have strong ideas about what they are, but just look in the mirror and see if you can actually find yourself first. And then you can call them lesser than you. you're not able to experience love because you are only about fear and humiliation and feeling higher than the other person. When your only claim to power, your only claim to divinity, your only claim to being more than somebody else is your skin's lack of ability to process the sun's rays adequately. Because your ancestors didn't experience the sun, so your body adapted. That's your only claim to fame in this case. You're not a racist. You're dumb for thinking that race is something that is real. It's adaptations of your body to geographical and environmental conditions. That's it. We're not racist. We are a race, and chimpanzees are a race of monkeys. That's it. But we're not something different than a human. We might have some Neanderthal in us, which were the brute ones, right? The ones we also considered less than us, but we act exactly like them, just bashing things and screaming ooga ooga to feel like I have a bigger dick than the other guy. And it's really easy to understand when you understand what unchecked ego is. If it's telling you that you need to love yourself and that you're not lesser than anybody, but you're not also more than anybody, then that's the great ego. That's the balance. But once you go beyond that to think that you're better than somebody else because something as stupid as your skin not being able to process or not having melanin or not being able to process the sun's rays, then you're dumb. That's what you are. That's what makes you better. Come on, man. What makes us better are our ideas, our wish to help our communities. That's what makes us better. That's the real success, because that's an enjoyable life. Hoarding and dying of stress over how can you achieve a better profit margin next year is not a good way to go, man. And that's why we're all repentive at the end, because we understand life as something that we can waste just because we can expect heaven and hell to come to us afterwards. That's the promise that they made you, man, but they have lied to you fair and square and really obviously, and you don't see it because you were taught as a child that you needed to follow those kind of rules. But the heaven and hell that the books are mentioning are the ones that you're able to create here, man, to enjoy this experience, not to waste it away on idiocy and hoarding and manipulation and control. Why do you want to control things? Just live your life, serve your community, live your life. That's all you need to do. And for you to be able to enjoy your life and to be able to help your community, you first need to know who you are, what you expect out of life, what you are able to bring to this world through your abilities and your love and your empathy and your wish to help your fellow men out or your fellow women out. And that's what life is about. It's not about sins and whatever. The only fucking sin that should exist is wasting your life, thinking that something better will come afterwards. Because that's how you get manipulated into doing stuff that you don't want to do, and you end up doing, but you end up regretting it all the way, and you end up being a spiteful person out of that experience. And you end up being and I've known people who are very, very fucking strong, and I admire the fuck out of them that are trapped in that kind of world, but they still manage to find the strength in them to become a good person. They may not enjoy their life, but they don't go around and fuck everybody else's experiences as well. They just live their life as according to what their parents thought was the best. But I mean that's dangerous territory, because it leads you to thinking that life is not worth it, that life is not possible, and to be able to be manipulated by somebody that's telling you that heaven can be coming later if you're a good person on this life. But nobody does. I fucking promise you that nobody knows what death is, or how it feels, or what happens afterwards. And whoever's trying to sell you something through that promise is lying to you, and it's going to use your time and your attention to garner more power and to garner more likes and to garner more followers and to garner more admiration and more attention. And for what? The religious intent should be about teaching you what life is and how you can enjoy it, so you can actually be a fruitful person for your communities. It's not about rules that were applicable thousands of years ago, but probably not anymore, right? Because we have the technology and we have more knowledge. So it's the message about the gods are in those actual books, which is love yourself. If you want to believe in a god, do that. Love yourself and love others. Be a community. Don't be jealous. Don't be fucking absurd and thinking that you're the center of the universe, because you're not. That's your ego trying to make you do things that you're not going to like. And it needs manipulation, and it needs coercion, and it needs marketing, because it's impossible for you naturally to behave in the way that they want you to behave, to gain more power themselves, if they are not manipulating. So that should tell you something. And your intent for life should be about enjoying yourself, because not your mother, not your father, no, but not your uncle, your grandmother, your grandfather, no matter how much they helped you, if they are manipulating you in any way, either socially or mentally or emotionally, and you fall for those kind of things, it's going to be hard for you to live a good life. And it's not that they're ill-intended. I'm pretty sure that most of them have the intention of you being better, but they are not telling you the most important thing, which is enjoying yourself in this life. If a heaven happens, or if it doesn't happen, you already enjoyed this life. So if you just turn off at the end, it will not matter, because you've enjoyed what heaven could feel like, right? So why waste this time that you have, which is really, really small, but you can make it full of memories, which will make it extensively large, or wide, or however you want to look at it. And you're going to be enjoying that life for many more moments, and that's what's going to be bringing you joy towards the end. And again, if there's no heaven, if there's no hell, then you enjoy your life already. So what does it matter? If you get to heaven or hell, that's fine. You enjoyed this life, and then you move on to whatever is next. I have a theory about resurrection, but I think we're going to discuss it on another one. I already talked about it in a couple of videos. But yeah, that's the idea. Either heaven or hell are made by you here, by your decisions, by how much you let others limit your enjoyment of this life. If you let the expectation of others, or el que dirán, or what they will say, guide your actions, then you're going to have a miserable existence, and it's going to be nobody's fault but your own, because you have the power of choosing differently. Don't let convenience or fear take that away from you, because that's the only power that you have in this life, actually living it. And that takes away the power of everybody else trying to destroy it, or trying to make it not a positive experience, just because they were not brave enough to do it themselves. So yeah, I'm a firm believer that either hell or heaven are experienced in this world right now. And you have the power to, I mean, life is difficult, and you're going to experience pain and suffering, and that's unavoidable, because that comes with love. But if you love to the fullest and you experience to the fullest, you'll be able to see that the end result is not going to be that scary anymore, because we're all going there. It's going to be a shocking moment, but it's going to be a second. And I promise you there's going to be peace after that. But if you're already peaceful, you understand why it's so important for you to have lived that life, to have experienced that experience, to have actually gone through that first step of not being afraid, to not limit your experience in that way, because you are able to do whatever you want. I understand that sometimes it doesn't look that way, but you're right, especially right now with every single media that exists, and with the communication that we are able to have with other people, you're able to do whatever you want. And I'm proof of that, and I'm a fucking idiot, so I don't know anything, except that I understand that living the life that you are giving by pure chance is the way to enjoy this and to make sense of it, because otherwise it makes really, really fucking little sense. Especially when you're being abused, and you're being victims of people who don't care about any other experience but their own, and they fuck them their own experiences at the same time. So it's not even worth it for them, and they keep thinking that it is. And that's the kind of people that we have right now causing power grabs and resources stealing and authoritarian decisions that impact millions of lives, and they don't care because they are the ones that are holding the Bible, right? They are the ones promising you that they're as religious as you are, but they don't understand what that is. They don't understand what love is because they only understand fear and intimidations as forms to acquire it, or convenience as forms to acquire or to force it onto other people. You need to love me because otherwise I'll hurt you. And that's a fucking terrible promise because they tell you these things as a child and they make them okay, and they put suits on it, and they put the title quote unquote success on top of the billboards, and they call it success, and they convince you that that's success, but it's not. That's the most mediocre way to live a life, and you'll be able to show in their personality they are liars, they are cheaters, they are fake smilers, and they are experts at trying to manipulate you into thinking that they are the shit, that they are it. They're not. So probably stop admiring them is the first step to seeing what real leechy people they really are, because they are social leeches. Socialism is from the devil until it's for them. If it's to give them or to bail them out or to give them cuts on taxes, then that's great. If they can abuse the system, that's great. But if it comes to making the lives of people who actually make them rich a better experience, an easier experience, then we can't do that, right? That's not. Socialism is the devil in that case. So yeah, it's a lot to process, but I think that's some of the reasons that we are where we are right now. We keep on letting those people call themselves successful, and we applaud them, and we watch their corrupt awards and think that they are successful because they want them. But a lot of those, even the Hollywood stars, are bought by themselves. They're not something given by the community, right? So a lot of them are recognitions that should have happened, but a lot of them is just ego trip. And that's the problem. We keep on confusing those two, and unchecked ego is obvious, and we see it every single fucking day with celebrities being abusers as well, and we see it with the class of people who went to islands and abused children, right? Which has ended. Wasn't a new thing. It's happened before, but this involves a lot of people who are currently trying to make our lives worse just so that they can profit a little bit more next year. So let's think about that, and probably stop calling them successful the first chance we get. Anyways, I think that's all I have for today. Thank you for listening if you did, and hope you have a great one. Goodbye.